Welcome right back. Someone had to ask me a few seconds ago if I wanted coffee. Maybe I want that coffee before we jump right into the headlines of the day. Welcome back from your short break. So, engage with us, talk to us, chat with us, chat at us, however you feel. It doesn't have to be all friendly, right? Just say what's on your mind. Remember, it's with the hashtag SBL. We'll start from Kenya this morning. Business Daily. US rate cuts brings cheer to Kenyan top investors. US rate cut brings cheer to Kenyan top investors. So NSC is eyeing a boost from improved foreign inflows as well as lowering of bank borrowing costs to the benefit of private sector. Non-tax revenue from parastatals posts biggest increase. Non-tax revenue from parastatals posts biggest increase. They're talking about cash generated by the government of Kenya from non-tax sources, such as fees, as well as for services, and the way it's mopping up all the surplus money from parastatals, more than fourfold in the first 2 months of this year. This is a report from the National Treasury, according to the new data that just came out. Banks face mandatory climate risk disclosures. Banks face mandatory climate risk disclosures. So banks will be required to make public their climate-related targets. I've been wondering all morning why this is this is so banks and climate-related targets. Anyway, so they're expected to make public their climate-related targets. One of which is annual green loans that has been given out to both individuals and to private companies as well as public companies, and the percentage of these loan books that are screened for sustainability and the performance that these targets aim to bring to the fore. Banks and climate change targets. Okay. Standoff as investors seek higher returns from CVK bond sales. This is going on by demanding the premium, according to investors that have indicated that they remain wary of government's fiscal shortfalls. Now, these have been amplified by the recent rejection, of course, of the Finance Bill 2024. This has gone on for over 6 months, almost going on 7 months. And it brings a possible rollback of tax changes that is implemented by the same Finance Act. This financial bill has been posing a problem for Kenya, and is one of the things that is on the bad side of Ruto as they go to quell this without it bringing all the problems that it's coming with. The best model is to manage, this is a quote, by the way, from one of the top Business Daily analysts. The best model is to manage national resource revenue through a sovereign wealth fund that comes with several advantages. So the best model, like it says, is to manage their resources through specific sovereign wealth funds that come with several advantages. First is it will, should I say, how do I put this? It allows one to save money for future generations, and we're talking the government here for the public, for the masses. And secondly, one has to have a tool to help manage adverse impacts on the macro economy. Wow. Okay. On to business day in South Africa. Reserve Bank eases into rate cuts. Reserve Bank eases into rate cuts. Kangayago says there are still risks with central banks moving carefully. due to this risk. And the South African Bank Reserve lowered its main lending rate to 8% from 8.25% as predicted by a day after data showed headline inflation fell just 4.5%. So the decline, which again is in the middle of the central bank's target range, is something they're looking forward to because it will amplify their profits. Rands hit 19-month high rate cuts. There's been a lot of cuts on the show today, and it's such a good thing. Reminds me of on Monday when it was three or four loans in Bangladesh from billions of dollars across board from Germany, from the IMF, from World Bank. So Rand hit 19-month high rate cuts. Yes, the Rand firmed to its strongest level in 19 months, talking from early last year to this year, and it's holding on to gains notched up overnight after the US Federal Reserve sent ripples through emerging markets currencies with an unexpected, half a percentage point rate cuts. So once US sends its rate cuts, everyone goes running for both positive and negative. SABC seeks state funds households levy. So the SABC is pushing for a major overhaul of its funding model, which is something people should look out for, especially both old and new media houses, because SABC has been here for a while and doing a lot of profits. So they are proposing to replace the TV license system with a household levy and additional funding from the states. This is in order to deal with broadcasters' financial crisis. I wonder how that was slipped in there. SABC's existing model relies basically, like used to be for everyone else, relies on advertising and sponsorship. These are no-brainers. That can never change. You can only add to that. And it goes to say about 15% of these massive operations are funded through mandatory TV licenses, which is a given, but more than 75% of households do not pay the license fee. There you go. Now, this is forcing the public broadcaster to join a host of other state-owned companies seeking state cash injections, investments, wherever the money is at, you have it in a bag, in boxes, bring it in and invest. It's a good way to throw your money in, actually. Road accidents fund deficit nears 24 billion rand. Road accident fund deficit nears 24 billion rand. So the Auditor General's office raised serious concerns at the Parliament over 2 days ago. I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday, over financial statements of the Road Accident Fund, RAF. It's a fund that is being applied for the people, which remains in the red, which is why he's talking, and it has an accumulated deficit of 23.9 billion rands. He also told them that the RAF's financial reporting standards has maintained its adverse audit opinion about it for a while, which is one of the reasons why he is advising them that this is long overdue. Still on Business Day, South Africa, regulatory hurdles hinder investments. Regulatory hurdles hinders investments. Remgro CEO Gianni Durand has flagged the regulatory cost of doing deals as a deterrent to doing business and attracting international investment. A deterrent, strong word, keyword. He goes on to say that if the merger of the group's fiber assets in the city of Vernatel with those of Vodacom had gone ahead 18 months ago, and the group will already have spent between 3 to 4 billion rand of capex to roll out connectivity in areas of SA where it is needed. And we're talking about this because 3 billion to 4 billion rands is a lot of money, especially when you're dealing with telecoms. Bytes reports strong first half. Bytes, BYTES, reports strong first half. So their shares in Bytes Technology Group shot up almost a tenth on Thursday, yesterday, as the company reported a strong trading performance in the first half. This is good news. And this boosted by demand for cloud computing, for cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. These three are top-notch right now. Of course, cloud computing has been around for a minute and people have been tapping in there, but cybersecurity and artificial intelligence are big right now, and it's what is upping their gainsaid. MPs query public works record. MPs query public work records. Discovery home loans take off. Now, this is of interest, always of interest to me, especially when you talk about estate and housing. So it targets 3 billion rand profits. That's what Discovery is targeting. Now, Discovery Bank's new home loan product took off with data showing that clients have switched more than 650 million rands off their mortgages. Switch straight up. Now, Discovery is a holding company of Discovery Bank. So this kind of like, let's leave this. So Discovery is not the bank, it's the holding company. And in its year-to-year on-end June, this past June results, it says that the lender's home loan product had met expectations, with clients having disbursed about 776 million rands worth of loans in the pipeline ahead. With the vast majority of clients switching banks due to this advantage that Discovery is handing out, while just 103 million rands of this is made up of new loans for the switch to Asia this time, while looking at business post in India. Okay, on income tax disparity, government employees enjoy benefits while private sector gets none. Government employees enjoy benefits while private sector gets none. World Bank pledges support for key reform initiatives. World Bank always here to support. Right? They pledge support for key reform initiatives. TIB calls upon governments of host countries to help Bangladesh bring home stolen assets. TIB calls for the government of host countries to help Bangladesh bring home stolen assets. BB assures liquidity support for weak banks. The Bangladesh bank, that's akin equivalent to our central bank here, to their central bank, assures liquidity support for weak banks. And I guess liquidity support has to do with money support and also seeing if there are ways there could be measures so they stay in business. NBFI's lending growth outpaces deposits. NBFI's lending growth outpaces deposits. Metro Rail to operate 7 days a week from today. Metro Rail to operate 7 days a week from today. So if you're starting today to operate 7 days a week, what were you doing before? I would assume that transportation, there are no off days for transportation, land, sea, air, bus, planes, trains, taxis. Well, anyway, it's good news for Bangladesh. Metro Rail to operate 7 days a week starting today. Well, on to Business Standard. While leaving Business Post Bangladesh, on to Business Standard India. In export push, government steps in to raise container capacity. In export push, government steps in to raise container capacity. Goyal, who is their commerce minister out in India, announces purchase of second-hand vessels, and this is in view to help more export, to increase export capacity, so there's more added to the economy. They're reporting here on India. Indian markets muted after Fed rate cuts. There it goes again. It was on the news. It was on the publication, 2 publications past. Indian markets muted after Fed rate cuts. Strong hybrid car sale takes off in the up after tax waiver. This tax waiver is big for them. So e-car remains on flat trajectory. It's not going up, it's not coming down. But the rate cuts, I guess, has to have a way to affect positively as automakers react to this. Indian carriers, foreign rivals in dogfights over international routes. Competition across board. Indian carriers, foreign rivals in dogfights over international routes. So the battle lines in the air are being really staked out and drawn. As a few days ago, Indigo, right, signed the world's largest aircraft deal ever with Airbus, right, for, guess how many? A total sum of 500 aircrafts. Indigo and Airbus, 500. And when you look at just one aircraft alone, you could see in your mind's eye the capacity of this deal. Now, that closely shadowed Air India's order of 470 Boeing and Airbus planes. We're talking as far back as February. So Airbus 500 aircraft from Indigo, Boeing 470 from the government, and the fight is on in the air. So with 970 new aircraft orders that will be in the space, right? We're talking 3 months from February to now, and a price tag of $120 billion. We're looking at Indian carriers hoping to transform themselves into global players. That to be reckoned with. That's great. That's great news. That's the kind of fight that is healthy for businesses as well as individuals, right? India needs norms for domestic PEPs, says FATF. India needs norms for domestic PEPs, says FATF. So India needs to establish its due diligence on domestic politically exposed persons, PEP, politically exposed persons, which tightens checks on transactions involving gems and jewelry. Gems and jewelry is what this transaction, they need to tighten the checks on. And this protects the non-profit sector from terrorist abuse, which is one of the ways that terrorists are moving monies, besides laundering. Well, part of it, laundering, is via gems and jewelry. So this is something that is being touted by the Global Anti-Money Laundering Squad and the Terror Finding Body, which is FATF, Financial Action Task Force. This came on Thursday, and the warning is a stern one. They have their eyes on the gem and jewelry sector. Vodafone stock tanks after Supreme Court junks telco pleas to review AGR dues. Vodafone stock tanks after Supreme Court junks telco's plea to review AGR dues. The Supreme Court has rejected curative petitions seeking a review of its 2019 judgments from a couple of years ago on adjusted gross revenues, that's AGR, which is payable by telecom firms. Across board, I think telecom firms have been not targeted is not the word, but they have a keen eye with a magnifying glass on them. It's been going on for a few years now. So here, the judgments had permitted the Department of Telecoms, DOT, to include all non-telecom revenue in their AGR. Include them all, no exemptions. Now, the petition had been put up by the telcos as a last legal resort to reduce their burden of 1.43 trillion rand in annual gross revenues. There you go again, AGR, 1.43 trillion, which was based on a subsequent judgment that came the following year, 2020. The first was in 2019, and this came again in 2020. Of this, nearly 75% of that amount compromised interest, penalties, and interest on penalties, all lumped up. But to get to 1.43 trillion, that's quite a humongous sum. RBI curbs in IIFL finance gold loan biz lifted. RBI curbs on IIFL finance gold loan biz lifted. So the Reserve Bank of India, their own equivalent of central bank, has lifted its restrictions on IIFL finance's gold loan business. Now, this is effective immediately. These limitations were placed in March 2024, and it has prevented various gold loan activities for the company and for its clients. IIFL Finance has pledged to uphold high compliance standards moving forward. So they're saying, listen, we see you, we hear you, we agree, we're taking the warning, and we're going to stay in our place with your eyes on us, of course. Banks take securitization route to improve liquidity. Banks take securitization route to improve liquidity. So securitization can be an efficient funding avenue for banks, but without attracting incremental cash reserves ratio and statutory liquidity ratio requirements. This, oh Lord, Senior Director Crystal is coming at them and talking about this. Crystal, CRISIL, is the Credit Rating Information Services of India private company, and he's putting out his wealth of information here, in their sector, that listen, guys, let's do this. All right, we'll navigate away to Financial Times in the UK. Consumer confidence takes a tumble as households fear painful budgets. Consumer confidence takes tumble as households fear painful budgets. It's had, talking about this painful budget, it's had its biggest fall since mortgage routes. Glum Labour narrative is blamed for this, and Starmer talks of economic reality. Billionaire Paulson dismisses Wall Street worries over Trump's tariff proposals. Billionaire Paulson dismisses Wall Street worries over Trump's tariff proposals. TikTok shows why we need data privacy laws. You know, TikTok has been in the news for a while, and the last time on the show on Monday, 2 days ago, we were talking about how there was a question and answer in the Financial Times as well, and it's something I urge you to go take a look at. It breaks it down in question and answer mode, why TikTok is going through what it's going through right now. If there are people that will be interested in buying, why would they want to buy? Why do they have such a huge problem in the US and not in their home country? Just all that stuff. And here they're talking about why TikTok says why we need data privacy laws. John Thornhill did a very lovely article about this again on page 23 of the Financial Times UK. So go check it out. It's something to see, especially all the TikTokers that like to have fun there. Take a look at the business side of TikTok. S&P 500 hits record as investors share federal cuts. S&P 500 hits record as investors share federal cuts. Starmer row deepens. Starmer we talked about in the news past. It has the current ongoing road that is deepening as they go. Farage lets reform go. Farage lets reform go. Rolls-Royce nuclear win. Rolls-Royce is always winning, of course. Come on. Nuclear win for Rolls-Royce. New Steinman's appeal. There's a new Steinman's appeal that's going on. Check all this. Sidebar news begins on the front page, takes you to page 3. India's hero eyes Europe. Who is India's hero? Catch it on page 2. New era for EU mergers. It's a new era. EU mergers are looking at the light. There's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's shining bright. Axel Springer payouts. Axel Springer is doing payouts and everyone seems to be happy, especially when it's payday. Come on now. We all know how that feels, right? On to Gulf Times in Qatar. We're moving further down Asia. Estithmar Holding lists first corporate sukuk in Qatari Riyals on London Stock Exchange. Estithmar Holding lists first corporate sukuk in Qatari Riyals on the London Stock Exchange. This is good news from Qatar to London. UCC Holding signs final agreement with Denmark's Cobod to purchase third generation of world's largest 3D printers in order to build sustainable schools in Qatar. I wonder how huge this would be, the world's largest 3D printers to build sustainable schools in Qatar. I would have loved to have heard Dr. Idahosa's view on this. He would have lost his mind. Right, Doc, I know you're somewhere watching. I would really love to hear you speak about this. So, the largest 3D printer to build sustainable schools in Qatar. So pioneering partnerships are looking forward to that to deliver record-breaking, eco-friendly educational facilities through their advanced 3D construction printing technology. And this is something that everyone is looking forward to. Of course, guys, it will not collapse. It's not how you see it. 3D printing. Read a page about it. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's actually a huge thing. Philippines seek Qatar backing to expand halal tourism sector. Again, Philippines seek Qatar backing to expand halal tourism sector. That's all, folks, for SOUQ Business Landscape. Remember, let's take this to the internet. Let's go away from SOUQ News Television for a second, 1 second, as we engage on these headlines. And of course, keep a second eye as our next show, Early Exchange, comes up at 8. My name is Hans Mbah. I'll see you same time, 7 a.m. on Monday morning, and hopefully it's going to be a clement one and not drizzly like today. Have a beautiful rest of the morning. See you on Monday.